Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. What you're about to witness is the creation and eventual world domination of the legendary axe murderer, Lyfris Family Name. The creation of this legendary warrior took hours of meticulous planning and random character generation button bashing before the perfect specimen of a man was born. Lyfris Family Name didn't need any tutorials, and of course, legend has it that he is the first-born son of Lord Gaben himself. Before Lyfris could become the legend he was born to be, he first had to hone his skills, mostly using the skulls of looters, bandits, and the unwanted orphans of Calradia. Lyfris needed an army so that he could feast on the corpses of the dead soldiers after a hearty battle. The first battle Lyfris encountered was during his nightly hooker walk, where he encountered a crew of shuffling bandits up to no good.
What the hell are you two doing?
No more party rocking for you, good sirs. Once he had slaughtered the rest of the shuffling bandits, Lyfris then sought out a small pack of looters and accidentally mistook his sergeant's leg for a looter's head.
What the heck are you doing?
An easy mistake to make. Now that he had his fill of looter corpses, he needed to find a new weapon. What was his favourite thing in the whole entire world?
Hoes are your friends, hoes are your enemies.
Ah, of course.
You fucking bitch!
Lyfris did enjoy a reliable, sturdy hoe. It was time for Lyfris to see how well his newfound hoe fit into the skulls of some looters and bandits. It turned out pretty well. As the mighty and powerful Lyfris gained in power, he realised that he was undefeatable and powerful, and he could not be stopped by anyone in the whole entire world, and he was so powerful, it was ridiculous.
Power level. It's over 9,000!
Fuck you!
Well, I think he slipped off his horse there. Once recovered, Lyfris decided his hoe was not as loyal as he first thought, and he decided to get an axe upgrade. He also bought some snazzy shoulder pads and a brand new hat. Now that Lyfris had got himself a brand new hat, he decided to pit his skills in a local tournament. Most of the entrants fled in fear as soon as they learnt the almighty Lyfris Family Name had entered the tournament, but for those few that remained, their deaths would be inevitable and painful, as no one could match the skills and power of Lyfris Family Name.
Bloody fuck you, bloody! Fucking mother, bloody fuck bitch! Bloody fuck you! Fucking bloody bastard!
The final rounds were a worthy challenge for Lyfris.
Bench you, bloody! Bench up you! You blunder! Bloody fucking! Accident, then what you gonna do? Why you fuck me? I fuck you, bloody!
But as usual, he overcame them to become champion of Calradia.
Fucking you, bloody! You bloody! Bastard, bitch! You fuck you! Okay, have a nice day.
Word quickly spread of Lyfris's conquest of Carbantheth, and shortly after he received a carrier pigeon from an unexpected love interest, Floraide. Upon hearing of Floraide, Lyfris could not wait to see if Netflix and chilling was for reals. Upon hearing this news, usually Lyfris would wait until the second date, or maybe third, to propose. Lyfris was filled with anticipation, but upon meeting Floraide, his feelings were overwhelming. Floraide wanted to get to know each other a little more before they married, which was, pretty dumb if you ask me. But nevertheless, Lyfris agreed, and after their first date, he decided to wander around for a bit, and he wanted Floraide to think he had actually important things to do, when clearly that wasn't the case. He was just kind of waiting around till he could see her again, basically. Around 15 minutes later, Lyfris offered his services to Lady Floraide for the paltry sum of 150 coins per hour, with 0 warranty and 50% service charge. A bargain if you ask me. Lyfris then proceeded to interrogate on her sandwich making skills, housekeeping and cleaning proficiency,
Yeah, boy.
and of course the most important question of all, how many men she had been with. Any answer above 0 would be completely unacceptable for the legendary Lyfris Family Name. Shortly after Lyfris departed his newfound love,
What the fuck?
of whom he would protect with his life until his dying day, her castle became besieged, and there was only one thing the mighty, powerful and courageous Lyfris could do. But then he realised, it's funny, He realised he had left his microwave on and he didn't really want the fire alarm to go off, and his neighbours were elderly and he didn't want to cause any commotion on his street, so he had to go back and turn his microwave off, of course.
That's it.
Lyfris was very selfless like that. But once he had sorted the microwave situation out, he of course returned to save the love of his life. And upon returning, it turned out that an army had actually showed up to help save the princess. Huzzah. Of course, Lyfris didn't need the help from this army, but the more the merrier, he thought, and as the army planned for the battle ahead, Lyfris decided to take a nap and catch up on the Calradian local news. After beating to death a few pitiful excuses for soldiers, Lyfris knew that the only way to win this battle was to charge head on straight into the front line of the enemy so he could stare into the eyes of the enemy. And once he'd done that, and this would surely cause the opposing army to flee in terror. His plan worked exactly as intended, and the battle was a truly one-sided victory, of course. Following this decisive victory, he returned to Florid to confess his love and to formally propose to make her his wife, after saving her from the clutches of the enemy. She looked excited until something very unexpected happened. Playing hard to get, Lyfris thought he was always up for a challenge.
What the fuck?
And things were looking pretty good at this point. Lyfris decided it was time to turn on his charm.
Bruh.
Right, okay.
Oh well, that's not very good, is it? Lyfris didn't care about this woman anyway. Nope, he realised he was way out of her league, and of course told all of his friends that he dumped her, which was completely correct. Lyfris then decided he wanted to feast on some human hearts, so he took his anger out on the local bandit gang who were holding a charity race for children in need. A pitiful cause, Lyfris thought, and this was of course a decisive victory. Looter and bandit hearts with a pinch of peasant urine always tasted nicer after a good old breakup. Lyfris then decided to take on a few caravan escorting quests to fill up his bank account, as it was a little on the light side, until he bumped into a friendly group of travellers who asked him for directions to the nearest brothel, as well as all of his gold, horses, loot and soldiers. Lyfris considered their offer very carefully and made it clear that he would not provide all of those things, and instead he would flee. Not in fear. No. Lyfris did not flee in fear, but he simply wanted to save the lives of the 151 men who even considered fighting him. Unfortunately, this friendly gang of thugs did not get the hint, and eventually Lyfris decided to donate some money to their cause. A noble cause indeed. 6,531 pieces of gold to be exact. And again, not out of fear, but out of the charity of his heart. Very noble indeed. A few hours later, Lyfris returned to his new friends to find out how his investment was going, and to check on his profits. His newfound friends very nicely asked Lyfris if he wanted to go for a nice, pleasant stroll in the forest.
What are you, fucking gay?
In handcuffs, while being dragged from a horse, and being whipped half naked. Lyfris enjoyed torture and S&M as much as the next lord, so he gladly agreed to their proposal, and they went on their merry way. After 3 days of friendly banter with his newfound friends, Lyfris decided he had had enough fun, and wanted some time to reflect on the fun he had had, and he also needed to clean his butthole and fingernails. Lyfris then decided he wanted to finally meet his brother and sister, and decided to rescue them from the local bandit hideout where human trafficking was the currency, a pastime that Lyfris had had fond memories of. Anyway, Lyfris slaughtered the first few bandits, and then was confronted with the local drug kingpin, Galter the Balding.
You want some? Well, the old Supreme World, wouldn't it? You want some or what? You read? You want some? They're fantastic. They're fantastic.
You're playing shit because you got no friends.
After eating the remaining scraps of the brain matter from the
If you
floor,
want some, I'll give it you.
Lyfris decapitated what was left of the torso and moved on to his next adventure, a good old-fashioned castle defense. Lyfris, of course, was leading the charge on the front line until he got bored and decided to go for a nap using a spearhead as a sleeping pill. A pretty regular occurrence for Lyfris, as he could only sleep with a weapon embedded in his skull. He then decided to siege a castle, until peace was made with the Vlandians. Pathetic, he thought. Fortunately, he was still at war with Sturgia, and travelled to the nearest castle where he could drink Sturgian blood and feast on some Sturgian corpses. After getting bored again, he decided to take a quick nap and used the Linebreaker's short sword as a sleeping pill. Again, Lyfris very quickly got bored of his axe, which was blunting from all of the head smashing and skull decapitating.
Now that's a lot of damage!
So he decided to go in a slightly different direction.
Stop! Have a time!
After smashing in a few bandit skulls and deforesting half of Calradia, he moved his attention to a local bandit hideout, you know, just for the fun of killing things, I suppose. The forest bandit boss thought he was a tough guy, until he challenged the almighty Lyfris Family Name to a duel. No one had ever defeated Lyfris in a one-on-one, and that was not about to change today. What he really wanted to do is smash down a castle door with his bare hands, so he joined the army in a castle siege. Lyfris wanted to test out his new hammer to see if he could single-handedly smash down a castle by first smashing down the castle door. The castle was successfully besieged by Lyfris Family Name. He then proceeded to destroy all of the pitiful soldiers who were guarding the castle and some teleporting troops and peasant scum. Lyfris's renown was spreading around Calradia quicker than COVID in a Wuhan meat market. Having heard about Lyfris's endeavours, a local farmer asked if he could rescue his daughter from her 57-year-old husband. The father did not approve of this relationship after unsuccessfully debating with the young lady on the merits of why marrying a 57-year-old as a young lady was slightly unreasonable. She disagreed and nominated her husband to fight to the death with Lyfris, which he seemed more than happy to proceed with. Of course, this duel would end with only one survivor, so Lyfris smashed in both their skulls and went on his merry way. A successful quest, if you ask me. Lyfris decided it was time for a wardrobe change and got himself some new threads so that he could impress a possible new suitor. Speaking of dating, Lyfris hadn't visited a dungeon for a while, and he missed the screams and sounds of torture, so he visited his local dungeon master for a tour. Oh, Lyfris usually had to pay for what they were doing in there.
What the hell are you two doing?
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
So he decided to go for a closer look. Turns out it was Imperial Lord Archon Penton, who was locked up for the crimes of sodomy with a carrot, bestiality with a chicken, and bribing a zookeeper for access to the pigsty. I'm not sure what he wanted that for, but anyway, Lyfris let him out of the dungeon, but for some reason, he desperately wanted to go back in.
Slow down!